What is going on, everyone? My name's Boit, and I'm back with some more Age of Mythology, the Titans action, spawning in the top of the map in the red color, playing as Kronos. His name is Squash. His opponent today in the red color. No, this is blue. You'll have to forgive me. Just woke up. In the blue color, playing as Ra. His name is Grassengroom. Thank you for the 27 months, Drew Drips. That's so many months. Appreciate you, my friend. The map is Anatolia, and yes, it is Mr. Clean on the Kronos. He played a Thor game, and he's playing a Kronos game. I do believe in the community, whether or not it's actually an accurate statement, it may be incorrect, but the community does believe that these two gods, Thor and Kronos, are some of the more weaker gods in the grand scheme of things. Now, I mean, as for Kronos, we actually do see Kronos played on in tournaments quite a lot, but that's specifically on the map Mediterranean. Very rarely do we see people actively picking Kronos on a land map unless they are an Atlantean only player, and even then oftentimes we see the order of the gods going Uranus, Gaia, and then Kronos, or even in some cases Gaia, Uranus, Kronos, depending on if your name is Kavoth or not. But we do see a very interesting start here from Squash. Kronos, like all of the other Atlantean gods, is different, does have some other unique things. So what did Squash actually get out of putting his villager on wood first here? He's opted to go for wood first on this one. Did he get himself focus? He did not get focus. Here he's over on the gold now. It looks like he's going for what seems to me to be a 4-minute hunting dog's advance time. Now this build here, he's actually over-gathered wood by just one wood grab too much. Not going to be that much of a difference. Maybe the difference of like 1 second in terms of getting to the next age. However, this is what he's going to be going for. We'll see if it's going to work for him or not. Effectively, you gather the perfect amount of wood, and then you just chuck everyone, and the perfect amount of gold, and you just chuck everyone onto food. It's very simple. You can only do it on maps where you have a healthy amount of food in your starting line of sight, and you get going incredibly fast in these games. Oftentimes as well, it's actually better to jump onto a cow than it is to jump onto anything, onto like the chicken or the berries here, because it's a reduction in walking time, as we are going to be seeing that temple coming down here for Squash. A little bit surprised to see that, given it is Squash, a little bit surprised to see that little bit of inefficiency there. I would have thought maybe the temple getting thrown up on this location, because he's going to be time shifting it nonetheless, would have been more of an idea, but maybe the habit of putting it next to a tower is something that he's still trying to shake in a way. Kronos definitely has his own little things here. So we're 50 food short of advancing as 3:55 comes up. It's going to be a roughly 4-minute advance time here as he does click up here. 4:03, not so bad. In the grand scheme of things, going to be jumping a whole bunch of villagers over onto wood and onto gold in order to get himself the buildings he wants. He has actually scouted his opponent here. He does see that the gold mine is exposed now. One thing that Grassengroom will have to be very, very aware of is now he does see that temple coming in. It might be worth it to drag those villagers over here and start shanking this down. Is that as he does bring the villagers in, as the tower on this location here can be deconstructed, and it does look like this is just ever so late to bring those villagers in. Grassengroom noticed it just that little bit late, so he's not going to get a whole bunch of extra damage done. The armor starts coming in. We are going to be seeing some hero oracles coming in onto this location, and Grassengroom actually, he's going to be having a really rough time getting to the classical age here. He's actually pulling off of this temple. He has to commit to taking it down. When it comes down to it, dealing 200 points of resource damage by killing off this temple, potentially also killing off the Promethean is another 80 gold worth of damage. That's what's happened here. Does mean that it was worth it for Grassengroom to pull off of his food there and make that happen. However, his tower is completely exposed here. He did not get this one surrounded. The villagers are going to come back, try and shank off of this oracle here as best as they can, and maybe maybe delete those houses and get something else happening here. He's in a really, really difficult position. He's gotten one monument up this point. When you're playing against Atlantean as Egyptian, as specifically Ra or Set in this situation against Kronos, against Uranus, that they'd really, really struggle against the Wadjet. So he's throwing down 2 monuments. if you can, or even 3 monuments, and putting a whole bunch of villagers onto wood and making yourself Terma and Slingers is a really, really good way to defend against this kind of aggression here. However, all of this early game here from Squash has been slowed down quite a bit, as we do see that the temple here actually does decide to get deconstructed, as we will be seeing the Pharaoh getting pulled off here. The temple should arguably get up in time here. He's got around about 30, well, we've got 30% remaining on that advance time, which is it's around about 20 seconds to get this temple up. The question is, will it be up in time? It's looking like it's going to be very, very close, as we see a couple more villagers coming over here to get this one up. The counter barracks coming in for Squash right now. What is he deciding to build at this point? He is going to be going for the Terma here, as the advance time does come through for Grassengroom. 5 minutes 25 seconds into the game, we do see some houses coming out. The Wadget is through as well, as the tower also going to be covering this location over here. Wonderful play here for Grassengroom. He's able to defend this early game incredibly nicely, but we will be seeing that this tower over here is going to be getting cleaned up. Unfortunately for Squash, it doesn't really cover a whole lot. Now, he does get an opening here where he can actually come and rush in onto this town center. This gold mine is going to be a little bit more challenging to attack. There is still shifting sands remaining here for Grassengroom. Didn't have to use that too early here, as Squash does manage to actually save that Oracle as well, pulling back there nicely. And the question is going to be, what is Squash going to do now to push in? Grassengroom would be careful about that Wadget over here as he's pulling that one back. We do see that the barracks does come down on this location. I think a lot of the time, a lot of Ra players like overreact overreact to getting Kronos rushed here. I feel like you actually just need to get yourself the 500 gold here. Jump onto the berry bushes in the chicken, not farm, and then you can pull off gold or even stay on gold if he hasn't pushed you off this. Just try and get to the heroic age here, because you're going to be in a completely fine position. The only other option here in this position is to say, look, I know my opponent is all the way forward here, which means his home base, if we take a quick look at what is happening in the Kronos main base here, his home base is completely unattended, which means that a villager rush here is actually going to be really, really strong as well. But the question is, can you actually make that work or not? As the armory looking like it's going to actually get denied here from those Terma. It's going to be really, really close, as those Terma here sitting idly by. We do see that Wadget comes through, going to get a couple of hits of damage done onto the Terma over here. Looks like Squash still not paying attention. You're going to be losing one hero. Terma still going after this armory. The armory gets up, and the Terma going to be retreating away. 2 nice picks off there for Grassengroom, as he has managed to stay alive in this location. He's going to be getting into that heroic age very, very shortly. I actually do like what he's done here in hindsight. He's managed to get his farms up. He's got in his Shadoof out. He's got in his plow. He's got in his husbandry. He's still on his gold mine. He's going to be losing a handful of spearmen, but it's an 8:30 advance time through Sekhmet here, and Squash has gone for a second town center. So this could be a really, really strong timing attack that can come through for Grassengroom to punish that second town center that Squash has thrown up here. We'll see how it's going to work here as the segment's coming through. I feel like if Grassengroom does want to go for this timing attack, what he should be, he doesn't actually really 100% know that Squash has gone to town centers just yet, but he should be pumping spearmen now. If he gets out a ton of spearmen and just one more scarab, he's going to be in a really, really good position to hit that timing at about 9 minutes into the game. But we'll see if that's what he's going to do here or not. Maybe he's just going to play it slow, grab the gold mine. I really don't feel like you can play it slow in this position, given the way that Squash has dictated the game. You're really forced into a certain strategy. If we make a quick look at Squash's point of view here, he's still got all of his units really far forward. He's bringing some units back here as he gets the hero oracles, or the hero of citizen through with the Valor, throwing up a military barracks as well, sitting at 71 of 90 population. Grassengroom, on the other hand, sitting at 40 of 115 population, and we do indeed see the Migdol stronghold getting thrown down for Grassengroom. Against Kronos, a Migdol stronghold is actually a liability, because your opponent, Kronos, has still got this deconstruction available, and Squash is held, or he's only just getting it back, but he's held onto it for the time being, and he can actually use it on that Migdol stronghold to really pressure this gold mine. And I feel like that's a really big part of Squash's plan moving forward in this game, as the Terma are going to come through. Thank you for the raid, Victor. Hope your stream went well. Appreciate you, my friend. Hope everything is going well with you as the walls getting thrown up over here for Grassengroom, trying to make this location nice and safe. We do see that the Terma raids coming through, picking off a couple of villages of Grassengroom here. As Grassengroom here, does he have himself shaft mine just yet? Not even having pickaxe, and a bit of a problem here. Walls coming up over here. We're going to see a third town center coming down for Squash. Squash is absolutely disrespecting a timing attack here, and Grassengroom has completely allowed this disrespect to kind of happen through getting this migdol stronghold, through not playing into the scarab, playing into that segment that he went through, playing into the fact he's got shifting sands, all this stuff. I just feel like this is maybe a little bit... Obviously, you don't get to play this matchup very often. You don't get to be in this position very often if you're not a Ra player, because there's not that many people who play Kronos. But the more you play this, the more you realize where the weaknesses of Kronos actually are, and the fact that he's using the time shift to move forward means he's got nothing in his base, so you got to be attacking his base while he's trying to pressure you here. So, I mean, one thing that he could consider is if Squash pushes in onto this location now, as we are seeing the spearmen coming around the side, so Grassengroom might be going for this attack. But one thing he could do is when Squash pushes in and deconstructs the migdol, he can pull back into his base, send the spearmen in, shifting sands, the villages, the scarab, and everything else, as we do see what looks to be a second scarab coming in here for Grassengroom. He can shifting sands everyone in after that deconstruction comes in, and then he can have a really, really strong migdol placement in his opponent's base here. But it looks like Squash is not going to be falling for that one there. He's not going to be clicking deconstruction on that location just yet. Squash getting his third town center up here, as it looks like it's still going to be a very, very tough time here for Grassengroom moving forward in this game. We'll see if he's going to be able to make it work here or not. Upgrades, he does have his pickaxe out now, getting some more units, 2 scarabs through, no third scarab. Spearman going to be moving in right now, looking to get that shifting sands into the main base. But where is Squash gone? Squash still sitting on the front, looking like he's ready to put some pressure in onto this gold mine at the moment, as the scarab's going to be retreating back here. The deconstruction going to be coming down, and the units, they need to retreat back. You do not need to throw another migdol up because you're going to be shifting. No, he goes for the migdol. This timing here that Squash has hit is absolutely shutting down everything that Grassengroom wanted to do, but it's actually all playing into Grassengroom's strategy. He just decided to throw the migdol up in the wrong place here. As the army pushes in, he is going to be able to defend this, as Squash needs to retreat back, but this is giving Squash even more time on these 3 town centers. Squash isn't even building villages out of this 3rd town center at this time, just using it for population, getting a whole bunch of these Prometheans out. Squash should be a little bit scared of the army composition that Grassengroom is making. If Grassengroom makes some axemen here as well, he's going to be having a really, really strong army composition. But we'll see how things are going to go as the villagers indeed are coming in onto this position, as the spearman is going to be moving in here as well. The shifting sand's going to come through. Squash here is out of position completely as the army comes swinging in onto this town center. 2 scarabs coming through here. The Pharaoh gets targeted down, though. This is a weakness of the segment, is that you don't have a siege tower to garrison that Pharaoh in, and that's going to slow this town center from going up here. I think the Grassengroom should have thrown a migdol up on this position, but going for the town center, we'll see if he's going to be able to get it up in time or not, as the scarabs are going to move around the map looking for something else to do. The army all coming back in, and I reckon if the Pharaoh was not sniped here, this town center probably could have gotten up at this time, as we do see the units coming through, and Grassengroom's attack getting thwarted ever so slightly here. Will we see Grassengroom going for some town center grabs behind all of this or not, as the cavalry come through trying to snipe these Terma down as best as they can? We do see the Wadjet over here. Doesn't quite get sniped. Still going to be a live citizen coming into the fray here, as Squash realizes he does have a significant advantage economically here, but Grassengroom gets a ton of damage done. Grassengroom not really playing to the fact that when here's a StarCraft lesson I learned from Dayline when you attack expand, Grassengroom could have grabbed both of these town centers while this was going on, but instead he's throwing everything into this, has a lot of resources in the bank here, and his attack is going to be ever so slightly dwindling here in this way. He loses all of those villages. Did he have himself Skin of the Rhino? He didn't even have Skin of the Rhino here either. As the Mamillo, the Catapulties clean up the rest of these units here, and Grassengroom not going to be able to make this one work. His Scarabs have all fallen here, not taking down the other town center with those, given that opportunity. And now he's finally going for this town center, but is it going to be too little, too late? Squash has got himself tons of resources in the bank to make Terma, to make Cairo Ballista here as well, to make farms all over the map wherever he really feels like at this point. As the citizen over here still getting targeted down, but that catapult does so much damage to the cavalry. Will the citizen fall or not is the big question. It's going to be attempting to be retreated away here as the watchtower coming through, and Squash does smartly retreat that citizen nicely. Going to be getting his town center back up here as Grassengroom gets up his town center on this location, but his economy is hurting here. He was 1 town center while Squash was 3 town centers. He threw away 8 villages on that attack. And Squash is, I don't know how many citizens Squash lost on that attack, but I don't know if it was 3, then obviously the trade is equal, but an equal trade here does not end up being an advantage for an Egyptian who's been on 1 town center versus an Atlantean who's been on 3. So Squash now, he's going to be very happy about his position, getting his 3rd town center back up, making these farms nice and safe over here, trying to snipe down these low HP units with his raids, but not quite going to be able to do that just yet, as the cavalry retreating back. And we'll see how this game is going to eventuate here. But you can see that Grassengroom, who once had a score of 2,000 here to Squash's 1,800-ish, has flipped. And Squash is now 2,500 to Grassengroom, who's only at 1,800. So a huge advantage coming through for Squash. But it is Ra. Ra never dies, as people should be aware of. However, this Ra here needs to get something set up in terms of trade, in terms of the 3rd town center, in terms of army. He's got a lot of catching up to do to get back into this game. So we'll see what Squash is going to do. Squash is just saying going to go through Rhea, and he's going to have access to the those siege units coming out of the temple, the behemoth. And I don't know if Ra has the resources, not necessarily the resources, but even the units here to deal with a whole bunch of behemoths coming through here in this game, as the army going to be attacking this location very, very nicely. We see both sides coming through here as this migdol getting targeted down. The priest over here going to be targeting down some Prometheans. They're probably empowering the migdol stronghold is going to be a little bit of a better option as the more units coming in. Squash realizing better get the retreat in, wait out this attack just a little bit longer, potentially getting the 4th town center wouldn't be a bad idea here for Squash either, as he's probably got the resources to do so. Maybe even going to the mythic age here. You could go through either Atlas or Helios here. Either one would be a good option at this point. As Grassengroom going to attempt to hit some raids over here, trying to find some sort of villager kills, as the palace over here trying to get thrown up for Squash. Is Squash getting himself some behemoths out of here? Answer is actually no at the moment. Just 1 behemoth might be enough. The priest and pharaoh sitting in here going to be able to help against those Prometheans, but effectively against this army of Kronos, you kind of need something in the vicinity of 7 heroes to defend against all of these myth units. They deal so much damage, as the pharaoh, very, very good unit here to take these out, but it's only 1 unit. It takes a long time to kill everything off, as the army are going to be surrounding these heroic age Egyptian units, completely cleaning them up here as the migdol stronghold goes down. Squash going to be moving in to take down the town center after this here, if he decides to micro it even just a little bit. Meanwhile, we do see a cheeky little raid coming in here. The citizen making a break for that tower, not able to quite pick that one off, as those 3 cavalry trying to get a little bit of help in here, but Grassengroom realizes no population, no hope, and he does decide to tap out here. GG. Well played by Squash. I do want to ask, I really feel like the strategy here for Grassengroom was more so to get himself spearmen here, get himself another scarab out, maybe even get some axemen as well out of the barracks, hit like a 9-minute timing rather than the 10:30 or whenever he hit it, and immediately, instead of using the villagers to attack the town center, this is something that I've been learning the more I play with like Set and Ra doing these rushes. Instead of attacking the town center with the villagers, which will kill the town center faster, it doesn't kill it that much faster. The scarabs are doing the bulk of the damage, or the siege towers are doing the bulk of the damage. Drop a migdol straight away here, and then you can garrison in here and pop out and throw more siege works or barracks or something down onto this location, and then you can take the town center later is kind of the best way to go. But going for that 10:30 here just doesn't seem to was it a 10:30 attack? I think it was roughly then. If we take a look at the shifting sands, not even a 12-minute attack here. 12-minute attack. So a 9-minute attack versus a 12-minute attack. Those are the differences in timings. 3 minutes is a really, really long time. But a really well-played game by Squash. He shows why he's Mr. Clean here in this game. A really well-executed. I think the only thing that could have been done better is that temple being out of line of sight here. And obviously Grassengroom could have taken that down much earlier and done a lot more damage to Squash's early game here. But nonetheless, well played by Squash. If you guys enjoyed this game, please consider hitting the follow on the Twitch. If you're on the YouTube, hit that subscribe button. And I'll see you guys in the next game.